I'm about to tell you guys some crazy taser stories. They're shocking. Hey guys, what is going on? So I let you guys know in the last video that I have a big surprise that's planned. You guys ready? Next weekend I am leaving on a surprise trip to go visit my dad. I've been coordinating with his fiance and we've been making arrangements for me to go out there, and I've been trying to plan a convenient time where I know that he wasn't gonna be busy. The last time I surprised my dad was in 2011, and it was funny the way we set it up because he was having a retirement party, and during the retirement ceremony I brought in this big thing of flowers so he couldn't see my face. I walked into the room, and when I put the flowers down, his whole face just was total shock.
There's some delivery boy here with flowers.
Oh, So this time, I'm planning on just showing up on his doorstep. My dad lives in Arizona, and I am so excited to go out there because I love the desert climate. So there's good news and there's bad news about me going on this trip. The good news is I'm going to video the entire trip. I'm going to vlog the whole trip. So you guys are going to get to see my dad. You're going to get to see kind of what we do, and it'll bring you more into the personal side of me. The bad news is I don't have a laptop that's fast enough to do video editing, so I'm not going to be able to put the video out until I get back home. And I'll be leaving next weekend, and I'll be coming back on Thursday of the following week. So for about 4 or 5 days, I'm going to be out of commission, but I'm hoping this is going to be a pretty badass video. And me and my dad have always been really close. My dad was a U.S. Marshal for 21 years, and he's really the reason why I wanted to get into law enforcement. I remember as a kid, I would sit in his undercover vehicle, and he would like turn on the lights, and he would turn on the siren, and like all the neighborhood kids would come over, and we'd all be playing in his car. My dad's cool as hell, man, and you guys are going to get to meet him here soon. Actually, I'm probably going to show him this video when I get there. I've told my dad a little bit about the YouTube stuff, and ever since I started planning this trip, I've tried not to give too much more information about it. Like, he has no idea that I hit 100,000 subscribers. He doesn't know any recent updates because I didn't want to take a chance on him watching this video. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So I've kind of pushed YouTube away, and I don't really talk about it to him anymore. But bet your ass when I get there, I'm going to show him this video. So if you guys want to give a shout out to my dad, leave it in the comments section below, and I will show him the comments. But the best part, the most exciting part about this trip, one of my subscribers from way back in the day, man, I had like maybe 3,000, 4,000 subscribers, which is like 3 weeks ago. Something caught my eye about his profile picture on Instagram. So I ended up reaching out to him, and turns out the guy does custom woodwork. And his screen name is TN Wood Turning. And I'll put a link to his Instagram in the description. I don't normally do shout outs, but this guy is absolutely amazing. He made a custom shaving kit just for my dad. And with my dad being a U.S. Marshal, we were trying to think of ways to incorporate the Marshals logo into the set. So he ended up finding a Marshals emblem online, and he embedded it into the handle of one of the pieces on the shaving kit, and then like put this custom gloss like over everything. Here's a picture of the amazing work he did for me. The guy does incredible work. It's all handmade, and I am so excited to give this to my dad. My dad has always been there whenever I needed anything, and so I really wanted to take the opportunity to kind of give back to him. Alright, so I know you guys wanted to hear some taser stories. When I did my live event, and I've done the live chat and everything else, a lot of you have been requesting some awesome taser stories, so I figured I would get a few of them together and share it with you guys. The taser is one of the most effective tools that we can use in law enforcement. I think this is the best invention since handcuffs. I've seen lives been saved, people have kept from getting hurt, officers have kept from getting hurt, all from this electrical device. I'll never forget the first time I used my taser, and it was on a girl that was 350 something pounds and nutty as a squirrel turd. We always had calls on her. She was always stirring shit up. And at the time, I was actually working as a supervisor, and my officers responded to her house in reference to a domestic. She beat the brakes off her boyfriend. Like, this dude was like 140 pounds soaking wet. She tossed his ass like a rag doll all over that house. So long story short, my guys made the decision that they were going to arrest her, and she made it very clear to them that she was not going to go peacefully until her kids were with her sister. Normally, we're not going to go out of our way to accommodate somebody. If you're under arrest, you're under arrest. That's it. But because I didn't want the kids to see the violence, I told my guys, I was like, fine, let's just wait for her sister to get here. We'll give the kids off to her, and then supposedly she'll be compliant. Let's not create violence if we don't have to create it. So anyway, she ends up coordinating. Her sister shows up a few minutes later, and I'm walking the two kids. They're maybe like 3 and 5, and I'm walking the two kids to the car, and we're getting them buckled into their little car seats. Right as I close the door, I hear a scuffle behind me. I look back and she's like squared up with my 2 officers. This big bitch was ready to fight. So one of my officers comes over, and he's like half her size, and he tries to grab her, and she like flings him up against the door. It wasn't funny at the time. It's fucking hilarious now. This was the moment I knew I had been a veteran officer. Instead of just rushing in there, I took my time. I pulled out my taser. I walked over to where they were at. And instead of getting really close to her, like most new officers do, I actually stepped back, because that means I got further spread on the taser probes. I took a second, I lined up my shot, and pow. My taser went off, and she locked up and dropped like a sack of potatoes. A big fucking sack of potatoes. She was so fat when she fell, I bet she registered on the Richter scale. So as most of you probably know from watching my other videos, the taser will automatically go for 5 seconds. After her 5 seconds were up, she tried to get back up. She was getting up onto her feet, and she was about to fight with my officers again. So I pulled the trigger again. She falls back over, and then she pisses all over the front patio. After that second cycle was done, she was definitely done fighting, dude. She was completely spent. She was like, all right, y'all got me. So this is a perfect instance where it probably would have taken all 3 of us to manhandle this bitch and get her into handcuffs. But it saved all 3 of us from getting hurt, except the older guy that got thrown into the door. I think he was a little sore the next day. There's been funny times that we've been able to use a taser, and there's also been some pretty scary times too. I'll get to that in a second. Another funny time, well, it wasn't really funny at the time. We have a club here locally that has to hire an off-duty officer to work I think it's Thursday, but I know it's Friday and Saturday night. Every weekend we have fights, we have stabbings, we have shots fired, we have anything you could possibly imagine go wrong at this club goes wrong. When I was working with my partner in the city, I kid you not, we both would go up there and wait for the club to shut down, and there would be other officers that would sit with us in the parking lot. I remember counting one time, we had 8 patrol cars in the parking lot, like a bunch of wolves looking over the crowd, waiting for the club to get out. That's how bad it was. We got into several fist fights and everything else in the parking lot. So the off-duty officer that was working there, he kicked this guy out because he was drunk, and the guy just refused to leave. And the guy was making racist comments toward the cop and everything else. So this guy refused to leave the property, and he was told probably 7 or 8 times, which is way more chances than we usually give, and he just refused to leave. So the officer that was working the off-duty gig decided, you know what, we've given you enough chances, you're under arrest, turn around. And the guy, of course, kept saying, what did I do, man, what did I do? I didn't do nothing. Are people really that stupid? So long story short, we end up grabbing this guy's arms, and he's like twisting out of them, and he's resisting and trying to get away and all that. I pulled out my taser. What I didn't know at the time is that there was another officer that also had his taser out. We tased this guy at the exact same time from 2 different angles. All you hear in the video is pop, pop. I mean, it happened that quick. This dude locked up stiff as a board and fell backward and out. The funny part about it was there was some woman in the background, and I didn't even pay attention to this at the time, but there was some woman in the background that was yelling, "God damn! God damn!" She kept saying it over and over, and I love watching that video because her voice was hilarious. This dude did not give us any more problems for the rest of the night. From the time we had to take him to the hospital to the time we had to take him to CDC, the jail, he didn't give us any more problems. The taser has also prevented some deadly force situations, and this one I remember clear as day. We had a call of a guy that was supposed to come down from New York to kill his stepfather, and apparently his stepfather had been beating on his mom, and he was part of some gang and he was on his way. So we get a call that he's there at the house, and the units rush over there, and of course he knew that we were coming, so he left. And this guy was supposed to have on a red shirt with black basketball shorts, and he was supposed to be armed with a pistol. So all the units are like going around the block like trying to look for him, and I was like, if he left on foot, he's probably a good distance away by now. So I'll never forget it. I went 3 blocks north, and as soon as I got to the stop sign, I just happened to look right, and I remember seeing like 2 or 3 blocks down 2 guys turning the corner on a street. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's them, but you know, it's worth checking out. I get over there, and one of the guys has a red shirt draped over his shoulder, black basketball shorts. So I got out with him, and right away I could tell something was off with this guy. He kept like looking around. He was real nervous, and I asked him, I was like, what's going on at the house, man? He's like, man, the guy's been beating my mama, and on and on. So some other units showed up. I told them, I was like, okay, well, just put your hands on the front of my car. Let me pat you down real quick, and we'll go from there. So we walk over to my car, and he puts his hands on the front. And right as I'm starting to pat him down near the waist, I said, man, you got any weapons? He's like, nah, bro. Gone. All I saw was ass and elbow going down the street. So of course I'm like, oh fuck, dude, delayed reaction, and I take off. So me and my partner are chasing him like side by side, and we both pull our tasers out, and this guy's getting it, man. This guy's fast. But he ain't faster than me. So anyway, we both pull our tasers out, and we see these 2 red dots bouncing all over his back. Right before I pulled the trigger on my taser, his popped. And right as his popped, I noticed the guy was reaching around in his waistband as he was running. And right before he could reach whatever he was grabbing for in his pocket, he got hit. This dude locks straight up, turns over in the air, falls on his back, and slides on the concrete. When I say he slid a good 4 feet on the concrete on his back. Keep in mind, he was shirtless. And of course, me and my partner are like all amped up, like we jump on him and we're trying to roll him over. He's still trying to fight. So finally we get the guy into submission and we get his hands behind him. We handcuff him. And as I'm patting him down, I reached into his shorts and I pulled out a full-size Colt 45, ready to go, one in the chamber. I never would have guessed that this guy was armed. Remember, I said he had basketball shorts, which were sagging, and he had a red shirt draped over his shoulder. So he had no gun tucked in his waistband. He had tucked it in his boxers. Before any of you asked, no, I didn't touch his pecker. So it kind of goes to show that, you know, the taser, like I said, the taser has prevented a lot of worse things from happening. Some people have gotten hurt from the taser, but you know what? It's saved a lot of lives too. If he would have gotten to that gun that night, I don't know if I'd be here, man. Hypothetically, what if he would have pulled it out and shot at both of us? What if he would have hit both of us? I might not be here right now doing vlogs for you guys. Do I think that officers are too taser happy? Yes, I do. I think there are other things that you should use before the taser, but it is a very helpful device. That is it for story time today, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Holy shit, when I checked it this morning, 157,000 of you are watching me. That's crazy. But I do appreciate everybody's support, and like I said, I'm super excited about this surprise for my dad. And if you guys want to leave some comments for him in the section below, I know you guys have no idea who he is, but I'm sure he'll be flattered by some of the comments and maybe creeped out a little bit too. So I'm really excited to film that for you guys. I'm going to try to get another video out, or 2 maybe, before my trip. I'm definitely going to get 1 video out before my trip. Guys, if you like the video, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon.